recording, so you can have access to it. So what I will be presenting are a couple of games and methods and materials that the students created during our etwinning and Erasmus Plus project that is called Learning Differently. And as you can see on the logo, our partners are from Lithuania, who is the coordinator, Poland, Bulgaria, and Croatia. You will see a couple of the games, and they are not all here. There are a lot more methods and materials, but I wanted to make the presentation in chunks. So I will present a couple of them now, and maybe later a couple more, so it doesn't take too long. So the basic idea of this project was to stimulate creativity and make sure students improve their reading skills, but also their science skills and their math skills. But all the games you will see and all the materials you will see can be adapted to primary, secondary. You can even go further because any game or material can be adapted. This is an interesting game from Lithuania. It was designed and created by the students, and it's basically for vocabulary. You can see the rules. There is no point in me explaining the rules. So you can play this not only in your native language. You can adapt it if you teach another language. You can adapt it and do it for French or for English or whatever your students are studying. This one is another. Sorry, that's my partner. This one is another board game that was created by Lithuania. And I know you can't understand. I don't understand what's written. I know the rules. I read them and I understand how the game works. But I don't know the writing. So it's a kind of domino, but it's with word formation. So it's something really cool that you can do in primary as well as you're preparing your students for secondary school. This one is phraseological units. So it's basically, well, it's expressions. And they can get additional tasks. For example, if you want, you can ask them to create a sentence with that particular phrase. Or if you want to, you can ask them to give you an antonym of that particular phrase. It's up to you how you adapt it. You don't have to use wood or cardboard. You can use whatever you have, and you can create them online as well. Oh, hi Asta, it's so good to see you. I'm just, if you want to take over and present the games, the ones that Lithuania created, you just let me know and I will enable your microphone. This is another material that I am really fond of because it's got a lot of uses. As you can see, you've got images and you can use them in so many ways. For example, we tried this with, you get this image, you draw a particular card, you get this image, and you can create an entire story starting from that. Depending on what you're doing at that particular moment, what you're teaching, you can ask them to even create a documentary, for example, or a commercial, or an advertisement, which is something that I'm going to try, because first of all, they have to convince you to buy or to visit or to watch whatever is on that card, even if, for example, they are not sure what that card means. So you're actually teaching them how to sell their merchandise, which is something that will come very in handy in life. And again, you have some usual tasks like writing words that are associated with that particular image. Or they can use those cards and create their own games and questions for their classmates. They can try and create the questions for teachers as well. It works really well when they create materials for teachers. They feel really proud. And this is something, I mean, you don't have to use these particular images, but as an idea, you can try this and adapt it. This game can be adapted to whatever school subject you teach. You can always find images connected to your subject, and they can be the starting point of a very interesting discussion or debate, um, or raising awareness about particular issue. This one is about speech parts, and it's also very nice and very useful. And you can do this for your native language, but you can also do this for a foreign language, depending on the level you're teaching. Um, like I said, I'm not going to read the rules because while I speak, you can actually read them yourselves. And I will upload this presentation into the forum of the event, where I will also upload the recording. Another really nice a really nice game created by Lithuania. Again, this is something that I'm looking forward to try, because it looks very versatile. And this is a game that you play in teams. Depending on your class, you can use smaller teams or bigger teams if you have larger classes like I do. We have somewhere from 28 to 30. And it's really interesting how you play it in a team, because usually you will always have in your class students that are not good at playing in teams, students who don't like working with other teammates. So this is one game that gets them a bit more, I don't know, into teamwork, because they have to decide who explains and who guesses, and they have to rely on who's good at what. So this is one idea, one way of giving every student an opportunity, and also teaching students to recognize the strengths their teammates have. I think this is something important that our students do not officially learn in school, so we should do what we can to teach that as well. This is one my students created, and we have been experimenting with it, and we have been improving the set and adding to it. If you click on trading cards up there, you can actually download them. I think it's the link to the drive, but we have since then added trading cards created about our new partners that we have in our second Erasmus project. So we have more trading cards for I think for Portugal, for Latvia, and for Greece and Turkey. So basically, the students create using big, huge labs, something like this. And you have places, personalities, and recipes. But you can also add other categories like characters from films, which our partners did. You can add characters from books, because students love combining things. And what they do, they can work individually or in teams. These are just a couple of the trading cards. We have, I think, well over 100. And what they do, they draw a card for each category. And for example, they have a place, a personality, and a recipe, and you give them a surprise word or a magical word. You can do it as a teacher, or you can ask one team or one student to give a magical word for the other team or for another student. So, for example, if you have, I don't know, Casimir the Great, you can look at when he lived and make the fun word an iPod, or I don't know. We had a pancake that had a bionic hand, made of Nutella because she didn't want to die. We have also had Marie Curie, who had some radioactive. It's a Romanian dish, and it became radioactive. And you can combine, this is a good way of combining STEM with creative writing, because they have to do a bit of investigation. They can all write, for example, that Marie Curie was a chef or something. They have to make it, um, to keep some of the details real. For example, if they talk about a place, like trying to find something that's not Romanian, just uh, let's see about Plovdiv. If they find, if their trading card is this, they cannot say that it's a huge city or that it's a small village or that it's sorry, they can't say it's a small city or village. They have to keep it real, and they can't say it's in a different part of the country or something. So they have to keep the essential real, and then they can create the story combining the character, the recipe, and the place and the magic word, and make it a fun story. Another one that we did, since 2020 is the year of the climate change. This is more to raise awareness, and we tested these little topics. We tested them on our partners from our second Erasmus project when they came, and we did this the hard way. You can do it the easy way. Each student draws one of these. They're no longer handwritten, but I already had the presentation with them handwritten, so I didn't upload a different picture where they are, written on the computer. These are just some of them. So, for example, you have climate change, but you also have some issues that are happening right now in the world, something that I can relate to. For example, let's see. This, a cat or a kitten thrown away by irresponsible people. I know that some of my students identified with this, a sad person that wants to be a robot. You have this that's happening all over the world, all over Europe for sure. A child whose parents work abroad, and how that affects him. So the idea is that student has to write as if they were that particular place or entity or whatever is on the trading or whatever is on the card, and they have to pour out their feelings, and they have to put themselves in that person or object's place and give them life and voice. And sometimes they find it difficult. I know that I think one of the teachers said it gave her a headache, but the good kind of headache, because she had to think really hard. So we did it the hard way, which means we had teams, teachers and students, and they had to find a way to make all these characters meet. So, for example, one team had the Great Pyramid, somebody who can see the future, for example, a child in a war zone, and maybe, I don't know, an old shabby chair. I don't know, just saying. And they had to come up with a story or a dialogue or a video where those particular people met, and they would have to express what they're feeling, but also offer advice to the other person or to the. But since the objects and animals are alive in our scenario, well, they have to give advice to everybody, and they have to interact and find a way to help each other. And these are some of the stories they come up with. They have mistakes, but it's inevitable. They were sixth graders and seventh graders and teachers. This is a beautiful game for maths. You can adapt it. This is for primary, for very young students. But you can replace these with fractions. You can replace these with whatever you're studying in math, with formulas. And it's I don't know if it works for older students, but for older students, you can turn it into a Jeopardy game online. Something like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, for example, that kind of game. And you can make it online, because I don't know if this would work for older students. This is another board game. It's from Poland. And they have a combo of questions from culture, from language, from grammar, vocabulary. I don't think I can see what's the currency of Croatia, for example, what's the capital of Romania. And you can have, for example, what's the past tense of I don't know what verb. What does this phrase mean? So students are really inventive and creative, and if you just tell them to create an evaluation game or a teaching game, they will be happy to do it. This is a Bulgarian card game. We actually witnessed that slightly a bit different when we went to Bulgaria, and our students are talking about adapting it. And basically, you hear a word and you have to step on it, and the teacher or a student can give you, for example, one word that's somewhere in the middle, and you have to jump on it. That's the fun because the students like it. And my students, since they're older, they're they were sixth graders when they went to Bulgaria. Now they're seventh. They said we can try this with irregular verbs or with antonyms, for example. Okay, moving on to lab books. This is fantastic for presenting a book. This is from our Polish partners. I think they are self-explanatory. You have to present a book in a different way. So it's a kind of a, I don't know, an offline version of a book presentation. So the old-fashioned way. And they can add information, or you can see they have a quiz, they have questions. You can draw a question and answer if you know the answer. They can have images, interesting info, main characters. It's up to them how they present that particular book. And they're very colorful and they catch the eye. And I can assure you that everybody stops to read. We stop to read, I think, but I don't understand what's written anyway. But it's just they're so colorful and they're so really well put together, and you can see the effort and the passion that particular student had for that book. So it's inevitable. You will actually try to understand what's written, and that's great. This is another idea from Poland. It's called a book in a box. Basically, you create a box and you put items that are related to the book. If you can find it in nature, good. If not, you can just build something from whatever you have. And this is good because students can try to put the really important information. We're in an age where students copy and paste. So asking them to synthesize and just put a couple of essential items or ideas in that box is really something they need to do. This is a game that one of my students created. Her English is off the charts. She's 13, but she's been writing novels in English since she was 10 or 11. So she decided she would create a board game with English idioms, and you can't see them. These are just a part of the idioms. She has, I think, almost 200. She selected all of them, and they have explanation, and you're asked to either translate or give an example. She created her own rules, not very many. It's easy to play, and we've used some of her expressions to create different games. So we can combine the games. We take elements from various games and we combine them because games can be combined. These are some more games created by my students. This has some geography, maths, and English because we were revising irregular verbs. And this is another game illustrated and created by one of my students. Again, it's got irregular verbs and something else she wanted to introduce in that game. I let them choose what school subject they want to combine. She's really passionate about maths. So you can see there are a lot of maths questions. but she's got vocabulary questions as well and grammar questions, and she used the old-fashioned way. But the good thing about this game is that it can be made into a quizzes or a Kahoot really fast. And she, I think she's going to actually do that, so we can play the games. This is a biology game in English that my 7th graders created, and it's got different categories, and I will play the videos now. I think I can share the screen. I don't know how, but share my screen just a second. Okay, I will share my screen, and let's see if it works. Okay, so this was one of the games, and you can see what questions they asked, for example. Oh, is it, sorry. So they went and asked the teachers. I'm trying to find, sorry, I'm trying to find another one that's more, oh, you saw that. Sorry, it's just that they're not categorized yet. And our Portuguese partner was hiding with the students who didn't want to be asked. The videos are not edited. We don't edit the videos. We leave them as they are. The largest part of the brain. Okay, let's see if I can stop sharing my screen. Okay, stop sharing. Where's my presentation? Okay. Sorry, it's the first time I use sharing the screen. Okay, no need for the videos now. These are some of the games our students created. You can see some of them are on quizzes, others are on Quizlet. We also have some on Kahoot, but I thought if I added some more, then it would be difficult to add some more QR codes. And many of the games are transcurricular. They are cultural games. They include information about all the countries, and they are created by students. And they feel really proud when teachers play them. This is another game. This, I think, was created by our Croatian partners, I think. I'm not sure. So this is Quizlet. You have to match the images to the windows. This is something, it's not a new idea. So I'm not going to say we invented this one. It's not a new method either, but it's something that seems to be working really well. So you have literary characters that meet. They can be characters from games or characters from books or characters from films or any kind of characters. I will show you the teams. We had mixed teams. So we tested this also during our teacher training for the second Erasmus project in November. So basically, they had to draw two characters. One was, I think, from a Romanian story, and the other one was from a different international story. But you can combine that. You can have. I've been doing with my students for an etwinning project, for example, something that they find really fun. They are allowed to choose as many different characters as they want, and they also choose a location and create the story. And then if they want, they can create a trailer. Some of the students have done that. Some of my fifth graders have created the trailers, and they work in whatever app they are comfortable with. Some have a game that they use. I think one of the kids actually used TikTok to create the trailer for the film. So since this was not the workshop only lasted for 45 minutes or so, they had to answer the 5 basic questions: who, where, what, why, when. Um, and they couldn't write too much, but they had to give it a title, and they had 2 different characters, and they had to invent a story. For example, one team had a story about how Christmas was saved. Um, I will share the book review. I will share my screen again. We saw this in Poland, and we wanted to try it. No, it's not working. Okay, I will share my book review right now. Let's see if I can find the book review. Yeah. Okay, so I will share my screen for the book review now. Okay. We have several reviews. Trying to get back to the presentation. Sorry. Here. Okay, stop sharing. Yeah, there is no point in. I think the PowerPoint is over, so there is no point in sharing the presentation again. The idea is about the book reviews that they could do it in any way they wanted. They could present a poster, they could present a PowerPoint, or they could just talk freely. I have a couple of more book reviews, but I just wanted to share a sample. And after they present their book, they have questions from the audience, and they had questions from the teachers, from the students, whatever the students or the teachers felt like asking, or maybe giving advice, or clarifying some aspects from the book. I think these are all the materials I had in mind for today. I have another presentation ready that will include more materials created by primary school students, for example, in our school, by fourth graders, but also by some fifth graders last year, some treasure hunts that were transcurricular and that you can share and play with your students. One that has chemistry and English and biology, history, all sorts of things that you can play indoors or outdoors. It depends on, well, probably not outdoors now, but schools are closed here, so we can play online maybe. And I will also share some more resources that our students created for everyone to test out and see. I will stop the recording now and I will share it with you. It will become available to me in about 2 weeks. And I will post the link, and for everyone who couldn't attend, I'm referring to my partners, but to those who wanted to. But I chose to do this midday because I thought schools are closed in many countries, and it's easier to do it midday. Maybe people have plans in the afternoon now. So thank you for joining, and I hope you've got some interesting ideas from this presentation and something you can share or do with your students. And I want to thank Asta, who's our coordinator, and she managed to be here online, and that she's you will not find coordinators like her very easily, because she's one of those people that knows how to do